Yesterday we spent most of the time on Bodhicitta, and I would like to continue on Bodhicitta in the form of Tonglen. Tonglen is a Tibetan term. I don't remember what the Sanskrit equivalent is, but it means receiving and giving. Tonglen. So this is like yesterday we spent so much time just on Bodhicitta, right? And did we do any tantric practices? I don't recall doing, but my point is that, at least most of the session that we did is purely Mahayana, non-tantric practice, meaning that there are no mantras or empowerments involved. So Tonglen is like that. There's no empowerment necessary to practice it. It's a Mahayana practice, and like I explained yesterday, that relative bodhicitta, where we have the motivation to attain Buddhahood for the sake of all beings because they suffer, that is what, if you have that genuine compassion, genuine concern about the well-being of other beings, it really puts you in that great vehicle, Mahayana, great vehicle of Buddhism that takes you all the way to emptiness of all phenomena, liberation, complete freedom, great perfection. So what I see often is that, too often actually, when I see different discussions in the internet, hear different interviews, perhaps discussions between teachers, what I hear too little is mentioning compassion, relative bodhicitta, and from the Mahayana teachers or Vajrayana teachers. And that is, I find it quite strange, because bodhicitta is everything in Mahayana. And that's the vehicle. Bodhicitta is the vehicle that makes complete enlightenment, full enlightenment possible. Without it, it's not possible. This has been made very clear by Mahayana masters over the centuries. Very clear. There is absolutely no doubt about this. So our motivation is really everything. And what is that motivation? Maybe a little reminder. So how we verbally formulate how we verbally express our motivation is just the form how we express it. But we express something that we really feel. So when we say that may all beings be free, may all beings have happiness, may all beings have health, may all beings truly be happy and free, it needs to come from a genuine place. There needs to be energy, emotion involved. Not too much emotion, but also not too little. There needs to be energy in that. So like yesterday, the word motivation, motive, something that moves or makes something move. So when we have that bodhicitta motivation, it should make our energy and heart, our whole being move, in a sense. It should move us, so that It is very simple. In self-based state, we are stuck, more or less contracted, stuck with our views, stuck with our energies. But when we feel bodhicitta, and just the feeling of it is enough, then if we express it verbally, whether it's a one sentence of a prayer or 1 page long prayer, we also have a long bodhicitta prayer in Pemako that we have chanted in the mornings on retreat that I've written. Or it can be a, Bodhisattva Charyavatara. It's a like a basic text of what bodhicitta and bodhisattvahood means in Buddhism. We can say 1 sentence prayer, 1 page, 50 pages of prayer, but it needs to have that energy, that genuineness. Is that a word? Genuineness? Well, it is now. So this is really essential to really it is really simple. This is not rocket science, but self-based state, self-based mind, in that mode we are separated from others. We are separated from, you could say that we are confined into this kind of like a cell, prison-like cell, where even our vital energy is separate from the rest of life that surrounds us. So in a self-based state, one definitely can develop illnesses over time, physical, mental, because of that factor, because of being so self-centered for one reason or the other. So first of all, we need to understand and contemplate on the fact that all beings want happiness. And how happiness comes about is through removing ignorance. Ignorance is self-based, is self-view, self-based existence. So it kind of sounds a little technical, but that's how it works. So first we need to contemplate and understand that the vast majority of people, vast majority of beings suffer, are in existential pain because of this ignorance. And that alone, feeling that, it automatically moves something in our heart. It makes compassion, bodhicitta, the heart mind of awakening, it makes it brings it about. And from a kind of a tantric technical point of view, like I said yesterday many times, it opens up the subtle body. It stretches the body open, straightens the nadis. And that's how bodhicitta, that natural state, basic state, simple presence, is recognized. So how do we know that we have bodhicitta? We know when our self-based state becomes less. When we are in sober, clear, state of mind, in soft energy more and more as we keep practicing. That's how we know. We are more. Yesterday we spent a chunk of time recognizing the basic state, simple presence, and our own true identity as this basic presence. So when we exercise bodhicitta, that definitely happens. Yeah, so this is something very necessary, like a prerequisite to reap benefit, reap fruit from Vajrayana practice. You know, Vajrayana, tantric methods, they Vajrayana, the vehicle is built on Hinayana level, basic discoveries, basic insights about selflessness or emptiness of thoughts and emotions. That's the Hinayana terrain. And Hinayana, Vajrayana and Mahayana are built on Hinayana, emptiness of thoughts and emotions. Then there is the whole Mahayana terrain of subtle energy, substrate consciousness, bhumis 7, 8, 9, 10, layers in the aura. And you won't get through that terrain without bodhicitta. You just won't. Nobody can do that. So Vajrayana as a method, the practices of Vajrayana speeds up, you know, the result of Vajrayana practice is the same as Mahayana. No difference there. Both have Buddhahood as a goal, emptiness of all phenomena. But Vajrayana, because the methods are different, the practices are different. There is empowerment, Guru Yoga transmission, all that. It speeds it up. Makes it very fast. Like we have seen in our Sangha members. Can be very fast. But if you don't have that genuine, and you still try to practice Tantra, doesn't really work. So that's why it's a prerequisite, bodhicitta. Genuine concern. So let's take this into practice. We will do a half an hour session on Tonglen. Just a simple version. Earlier this year I gave like extensive sessions on Tonglen. And even if you didn't receive those teachings, I'll guide this session, instruct from the basics. So you will be able to understand. So align your body. Take a moment to feel the body, feel the aura. Forget about calmness. Simply feel. Simply be present without trying to. During these couple of minutes of initial relaxation, like we did yesterday, relax eyes, relax brain, relax face and mouth, relax the gut and relax the whole body. What helps is being interested about the simple experience of relaxation. In other words, letting energies flow freely. Be interested about that experience, about letting energies flow. We release some subconscious tensions from the body-mind, and this opens up our system. And this is already part of our practice. This is our practice. Means that we already have this compassion. We already have the motivation to know ourselves fully, to attain Buddhahood for the sake of all beings. And to do that, we relax. Thoroughly relaxing. There is no hurry. Never hurry. What is more important is the quality, high quality of practice, high quality of making observations. If we hurry through practices, there will be no quality. Really effective practice is all about making little discoveries, noticing things one after the other, and this results in having insights. This results in understanding what the practice is, what the path is, what yoga is, what tantra is, what the reality is. So be interested in what happens in your body-mind. Be interested about energy, its lack of flow or its unimpeded flow, unobstructed flow. Be interested about thoughts, emotions. Be interested about drowsiness, dullness. Be interested about strong emotions and reactions. There is no other field of work except that, except our body-mind. Awakening and enlightenment happens in this body-mind, nowhere else. Or not. Through practice we can decide which one is it. Deluded state or free state. And since it being in delusion or being in clarity defines so much how our life is, isn't that the greatest gift? The gift of Dharma. Already feeling quite relaxed. Let energies flow freely in the whole body. Letting the cage birds free. And when it comes to a recognition of simple presence, pay attention to the crispiness of it. Like exactly the same as when there are cold mornings, and you go out and you feel this, do you say like nippy or crispy coldness on your skin? Kind of like that. Notice that quality, the crispiness, clarity of simple presence. I'm pointing this out because I noticed that some of you are getting drowsy. And you are not noticing it. So pay attention to how clear that clarity is. Okay. Now we will continue to feeling and thinking about living beings around us. But before we do, pay attention to what happens with each. What kind of changes do you feel in your body, mind, in your heart with each piece of instruction that I give? Notice the changes. Alright, so here you are sitting. In posture of meditation. You have your body and you have your aura. And our motivation is to attain Buddhahood for the sake of all beings. Who and where are these all beings? Simply feel into the space that is outside your aura. Not just 1 meter outside your aura or 5 meters outside your aura. Feel the vast space outside your aura. That's where other people are, where they are physically. Other people are around us, so feel their presence. Feel and take it in. Get a sense, get a flavor, get a taste of it. So conceptually, we can contemplate and think that, I suffer and other people suffer, and all beings suffer. This is like a rational process, thinking process. It's good as it is. But here we are doing like a experience-based contemplation. We are tuning in to the field where other beings are and feeling their presence and checking, is there a painful quality there or not? So as you're tuned in, see what is the emotional quality. We don't have to think that, okay, downstairs there's an old couple and I live in an apartment building, so we don't need to think of neighbors in the building or neighbors in the next house or something like that. You just feel the field around you, and there are people there, and you simply feel that field and see what kind of message you get. This is not complex. You only need to feel. So this is a simple yogic contemplation about the suffering of others. Because isn't it that you feel this very familiar, very typical samsaric energy. Can you for a moment put your hand up if you recognize that? Just to tell me. Yes, most of you. Yes. Really typical samsaric energy. Feels kind of heavy, stuffy, like stuffy air in the room, stale, lack of aliveness, lack of joy, lack of clarity, kind of muddy, murky, dirty, messy. So now we are simply feeling it. And when it comes to the meditative practice of Tonglen, for a moment, without losing the contact with the field around us, bring your attention to the center of your heart, inside the chest. There is a fist-size area there, inside, that is never dirtied by samsaric stuff. A fist-size center that always remains pure. So it is simply enough to know about this. And we can, of course, make this a meditation practice where you might spend hours just feeling that area of immaculate purity inside the heart. It puts us in the recognition of basic state, this center. So we don't really need to add visualization, But I'm giving you an option, so you can do the next exercise when we go to the Tonglen part. You can just think of this fist-sized space inside your chest, or you can visualize there a fist-sized diamond, pure diamond. It's quite common that with Tonglen there are visualizations. It might be helpful in the beginning, but as you gain confidence in your recognition, you just kind of feel that the visualization is unnecessary. But you can choose which one you use, with the visualization or without it. Okay, so heart and that unstainable little area there is very important in this practice. Now you're thinking, you're directing your attention again to the space around you, and again feeling the energy of samsara and samsaric beings. And one way to practice Tonglen, the basic idea of Tonglen is that you take the suffering of other beings to yourself and take it to your heart. And in return, as you take the suffering of others, you give them peace, happiness and blessings. Sometimes this is taught with using the breath, but we will first do this without the breath. So you have your heart of purity and then the samsaric energy around you. So simply in your mind, open yourself up for that samsaric energy and welcome it to your heart. Pain and suffering of all beings around me, welcome to my heart. Just welcome it. Simply observe what happens. We can, regarding the space around us, we can think of the space 360 degrees all around us, horizontally and vertically, and welcoming the pain and existential suffering to our hearts. But if you feel that it's difficult, you can, for example, just think of the sector in front of you. If it is easier, you can just think of the energy coming to you from before you to your heart. So this is the most simple version. We don't need to do anything else. Knowing that there is a heart of purity there, and just welcoming the pain and suffering to our hearts. And then what happens to the energy of pain and suffering in the heart? what happens to it? So this heart center, I sometimes call them Chokchen centers because they are always pure, clear. What happens is that no matter what crap we pour into that heart, it will not. It doesn't get dirtied or stained, and in fact, whether we pour like the strongest anger or greatest anxiety, worst kind of greed in there, it gets automatically transformed. It gets transformed into pure energy, pure blessings. And these blessings pour back to those beings around us. If you made that discovery, if you noticed that, please put your hand up. Oh, good. So I'm just asking, like the previous question also, this is not a test, obviously. I'm just making sure that, what other things I need to point out. But when it comes to this experience, you will make that discovery. When you practice Tonglen, you will realize that if you practice Tonglen like this, you will realize that all the junk that you welcome into your heart, it gets transformed into pure light, pure energy that automatically radiates back from where it came. This is kind of, I was gonna say more advanced in the sense because there is so much this type of Tonglen relies on the practitioner, in this case you, being able to observe what happens in the subtle body. And maybe because of that you could say that this is advanced version of Tonglen. But having said that, if you don't, I think this is actually a very basic question about Dharma practice, that we should be able to notice things. Noticing things comes from repetition and paying attention and being interested about sensations. So in a sense, we are talking about basics. So this is perfect as Tonglen practice. You could sit here for as long as you want, just feeling into the field of samsara around you and samsaric beings, and welcoming their pain, emotional pain, mental confusion, existential confusion into your heart. And it feels fantastic. It feels like our own body becomes filled with this nectar, this very sweet, rich, like a sort of like the best fresh fruit juice you ever drank. That kind of sweet, rich in flavor, nectar-like feel. Our basic nature is revealed like this. Body of emptiness and body of enjoyment. Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya. To finish our Tonglen practice, let's chant relative bodhicitta 3 times, wishing liberation to all beings. Inhale. May all beings be free. May all beings be free. May all beings be free. What happens with this prayer? For a moment, feel your physical body. Feel the skin around your body, from head to torso to toes, hands, feet, legs. Feel the insides of the body. you can join your hands. Expressing sincerity and honesty with a bow. Any questions on that session?
Yes, I have a question. I really liked it, but I was just wondering that are there some reservations to when you should practice this? Like, I mean, can it become too much, or can you somehow become intoxicated?
That's a good question. I remember back in the day when I learned about this practice, I was terrified. And I think I was terrified, meaning scared. You know, I had already taken Bodhisattva vows years before. But when it came to the point of, the practice tells you to not only to feel the pain of others, but to take it in, that was really scary to me. Really terrifying. Made me very nervous. What if it somehow hurts me or increases my pain? So I would say that if you really understand the basic idea of compassionate motivation, then do this. Then you can do this. But if you don't, it can be overwhelming. But it will not hurt you. There will be no diseases or illnesses being transmitted into your body mind that will harm you. That won't happen. But it's just that what getting overwhelmed means that our own emotions and anxieties and our own pains get stirred, and it blurs the view, right? So, and I guess I could say that, it can take, in some cases, long time before one really develops, really understands that, heck, fuck, all beings suffer. It can really take time, but it's worth to, whether it's a year or 5 years or 10 years, that work, that process that you go through to come to that point, it's extremely valuable, because that's when you set your foot from small vehicle to great vehicle. And like I said, small vehicle doesn't lead to full enlightenment. Only great vehicle does, because of compassion. So for some people it might take a while. That is perfectly fine. For others it might be very clear. You might understand the meaning of it in first session. And all this is perfectly fine. This is not a competition, right? So just focus on your own practice, on your own experiences, on your own discoveries or the lack of discoveries. And if it's lack of discoveries, If you feel like your practice has plateaued and nothing happens, then start thinking, asking questions to yourself. Why? Start teaching yourself. But like I said, like I always say, Dharma practice, even if we are talking about, a lot of technical things, bhumis and aura layers and mantras and all this, it is still a lot more simpler than rocket science. But one challenge in Tantra, energy work, in any yogic practice, one challenge is that it is not about the physical body, though the mind is related to it. It's about mind and one's mind state. And you can't touch your mind, can you? So that's the challenge. That's why I always say that you need to feel, you need to sense. Because if you don't feel, if you don't sense anything, you can't really practice effectively. You can't make discoveries. So this is why, like a bug has meters in the head that it uses to sense things, listen things, hear things, we need to have meters tuned like a bug does. Kind of interested, observant, tuning in, feeling, sensing. All right, let's take a break for hour and 20 minutes. So continuing the same time as yesterday. Thank you for this. See you in a moment.